This is an exciting session that we're doing with John Batter, CEO of Extreme Reach. This is an exciting conversation at multiple levels. John is a really dear friend, and he's agreed to do this. So, John, thank you for talking to the Vitrina network. And also because John's actually just taken over. He's already started making changes in this very exciting company, advertising, communications, marketing, as well as in the entertainment space. So, John, welcome.
Well, Atul, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so great to see you.
John, this is an exciting phase for you. You've recently taken over as the CEO of Extreme Reach. Again, my excitement was to speak with you was also because Extreme Reach is an emerging player in the entertainment space. I know you have done stuff in the entertainment industry, but under your leadership, you want to do more. So maybe that's a great place for us to start, right? If you can give a little bit about a background to the company and an elevator pitch about what the company's operations are.
Sure, happy to do it. Who are we? XR is the leading platform for managing advertising and marketing operations. So what does that mean? It means we help brands predominantly manage all aspects of their ad creative, all the way from talent payments at the very front end of the system and on to rights, and then the delivery of the actual ads themselves so that every ad lands exactly how and where it should.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one way to kind of help your audience think about the business and kind of frame it is that sort of what Salesforce has done for chief revenue officers and for sales ops is sort of what we do for ad ops and marketing ops and sales.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is almost essentially the management of the entire sort of workforce in a way. The talent pool included.
Yeah, so the management of the entire sort of advertising workflow, orchestration, the ads flow into our database, and so from creative agencies, and so everything to do with approvals of ads to kind of the rights into what markets they can be shown in, to who gets paid and how they get paid for being in those ads, kind of all comes through XR.
I was actually curious then. So there is a platform play for sure. There are
Yep.
certain workflows which are embedded as part of the overall system.
Yep.
Is that? And then how about services? Is our services also part and parcel of the offering?
Yeah, so there's a number of services so yes is the short answer. And those services range from things that your audience would be familiar with, like transcoding and closed captioning, to sort of, management of rights. So a large number of services built around the advertising ecosystem and really, helping, as I said, brands ensure that their ads get to the right servers so that when the financial exchange is done and the ad servers call the ads, they get the right ad and they get it in pristine condition. And so it's the right ad going to the right audience on the right, sort of at the right time on the right device. Our business, I maybe also help the audience, kind of breaks down into kind of two pieces. We have a payments part of our business, what we call XR Pay, and an advertising piece of the business, which we sort of been talking about at a high level, XR ads. So the payment side of our business is traditionally been focused on paying the talent. So the talent that's in front of the camera in TV commercials, and we're the largest player in that in the US. And we're also sort of been moving into crew payments. So the talent behind the camera, and we've been doing more of that, and then paying vendors and influencers, et cetera. And part of the move for that tool is that we're finding that as brands are taking more of their advertising production in-house, we provide kind of a one-stop shop for them to pay the talent that's coming in both behind the camera and in front of the camera, whether that in front of the camera is traditional actors or influencers, vendors to support them, or the crew. And the reason for that, of course, is that what they really want to focus on is having the best creative and the best ads and not really on the mechanics of how people get paid. And so we take that pain out of the process for them.
Understood. So you talked about payments as one, and what was the other?
Advertising, so our ad solutions. And so that is sort of what, when I talk about our global ad database for managing kind of all advertising
Oh,
assets. So we do that on behalf of big brands all over the world. So we manage many of their ad assets globally for the biggest brands, big Fortune 500 and 100 brands. And we do that, right across every market around the globe, for variations on ads, local variations, again, what's approved in what ad, in what country rather, excuse me. And some may be, even if an ad is created for a local market, those flow into our database as well, so that a global company has purview over all of their ads everywhere in the world.
fascinating. Fascinating. And then I'm guessing that this is not a campaign to campaign arrangement that you have. This is essentially all campaigns flow through the system. Are these longer term relationships that you have with your customers? How does that work?
Yeah, the relationships themselves are generally quite long term, been in
Mhm.
place for many years, if not many decades. Yeah, and the economic relationship tends to be more long term as well.
Understood. And then, John, I was curious about the lines of businesses that the company has, both in terms of solutions or verticals. How would you characterize the LOBs?
I would say that in the ad business, we service, we work on behalf of brands, we work with their agencies, and we work with publishers to ensure that the things flow smoothly from brand through agency through to publisher. And so we're sort of verticalized around those groups. And then within brands, as you might imagine, we focus on industry verticals because there's usually kind of common themes within each one of the industry's verticals. And that's how we sort of build our roadmaps.
Got it. Got it. So then there is the ad agency, there is the marketing company, the advertiser themselves, and they are all essentially on the platform.
Yes. And then
Okay.
oftentimes the publisher to whom we ultimately deliver
The
the
materials.
ads to. Yeah.
The ad materials. Got it. Got it. Wow. And a little bit about the overall global coverage, in terms of, I'm guessing the US is the largest market. What comes next?
For us, for our business, US, followed by the major European markets, the ones that you would sort of expect: UK, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Nordics, sort of doing those generally in order. We cover some some of the major Asian markets, and then a few of the big markets in Latin America, like Brazil.
Got it. So, what is exciting about, looking at this business from your vantage point, John, is that you've had an experience of looking at film, gaming, entertainment, film, animation. I mean, just had a very rich exposure to both marketing, advertising, as well as gaming and entertainment.
Yeah.
Wanted actually, so two questions, both you'll have to give slightly longer answers. One is a little background about your career journey, and the second one
Yeah.
is that how is this current experience different from everything that you've known about the film and TV sector? How is
Yeah.
advertising and marketing and communication currently differing? Is it exactly the same forces that are acting on that industry?
Yeah. So on film and sort of entertainment in general, maybe you were alluding to this earlier, that is one of our large verticals. Of course, entertainment is both a big producer of content, but also a big consumer of advertising. I think kind of uniquely, I think they consume, I don't know if these numbers are still right, but historically they consume about 30% of the total inventory available on network.
Wow.
So they're both a big consumer, big advertiser, and the progenerator of much of the content. So what we're seeing, and we see both sides of this in our business, right? Because we have
Right.
our payments business, we have our talent payments business, which I just described to you, which handles TV commercials and it handles TV shows, and it handles movie production. So we do all of that. And we help those advertisers make sure that their trailers and their ads get to the right place and looking perfect at the
Ah,
right time.
that's right.
So what are the trends we're seeing? I think within the payments space, this will be no shock to you as the CEO of Vitrina, but we're seeing, of course, more globalization in production.
That's right.
Some of that may be, foreign content coming to the US, but I also think it's a continued trend of just, even if it's US content, just the production of that content being globalized and
Right.
work getting done all over the world now, and then coming back and getting stitched together in one cohesive uh, piece. I think that, as you and I have discussed, I think is a trend that has continued and likely will be a trend into the future. Though I guess, and to be clear, I mean, we have seen a little bit of a rebound in North America, but I think doing things all over the world is just a macro
Right,
trend.
right, right. And my hunch is that some of those other universal shifts that have happened, which is that if box office is a little weaker today than it used to be, let's say 10 years ago,
Yeah.
then maybe some of the theater advertising has been switched around by digital. I mean, are you seeing any of those aspects as well? Or advertisers still
I mean,
gung ho about?
launching a big movie still, gets a lot of advertising.
Right,
So we still see studios putting a lot of muscle behind their advertising. Now we know that they were getting more efficient. We all read that. We know that. Um,
right.
but the opportunity to create a cultural event just
Hmm.
takes a lot of advertising and a lot of awareness.
And how about the type of advertising that? How about digital advertising becoming another big mainstay of a lot of marketing companies?
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing that. And if you're talking about sort of theatrical, we see the trailer as the master print, and the trailer is available both in theaters and on YouTube, as you know, and other places
Right,
to consume the trailer. And the trailers get cut down into, you know, 30-second spots and 15-second spots, and now increasingly targeted, 7-second spots, so that maybe you're getting a 7-second spot that is a more call is a better call to action for you, and I'm getting one that's sort of a better call to action for me, just
right,
based on my interests and your interest. And so we are seeing lots of that. And by the way, I think proliferation, AI is just going to take that from, I don't know how many of those there are now, but if there's, say for the sake of argument, there's 50 of those now. Well, that's going to be, 500, 5,000, 50,000, I think, over time, which is cool. It's
Hmm.
really amazing, but it also makes the marketer's job more difficult to manage all of that creative.
Right, 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 right.
And that's
Fascinating.
where
I
we
mean,
come in
again,
because we help them do that.
that's right, that's right. In fact, the what I was curious about what you mentioned was also we know the impact that COVID has had on
Yeah.
remote workflows and entertainment.
Yep.
Did the same thing happen with advertising as well, or not so much?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of I think COVID had an impact, enabled people to work remotely. Workflows became more flexible, but also somehow a little bit more complicated, I think. And so, it's our job to simplify those, and that's really what we focus on.
Got it. Got it. And John, if you can also give a little bit about your career journey, I think it just adds then to the context of some of the key sort of pedals that you are pressing
Yeah.
at Extreme
Yeah.
Reach.
Okay. Well, sure. Happy to do it. I guess the first sort of 2/3 of my career, I spent on the content side, both in, as you pointed out, video games and animated movies, really making games and movies and getting them into the theaters. And then, I guess I migrated from that to Grace Note, where we met, which was around the discovery of that content.
That's right.
So, well, actually, And before that, I worked at a joint venture. I started a joint venture between DreamWorks and Technicolor called MGO, which was around the digital distribution of the content. So moved
That's
from
right.
creation to distribution of content to the discovery of that content at Gracenote, which I thought was an amazing journey and had just an amazing amount of fun with you and the rest of the team building
Likewise.
that business.
Likewise.
And then in the last, 8 years or so, then moved to kind of much more of the ad supported side of the business into testing ads and now distributing ads and paying the actors in those ads and in the content. So it's sort of all connected, sort of moving from one part of the value chain to
Ecosystem.
another. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it and been so fortunate to have the opportunity to kind of move around. For those in your audience who might know Gracenote a little bit, which is an amazing entertainment metadata business, which helps people find and watch their TV shows and movies and helps them listen to the music and find the music that they're interested in, which uses a unique ID structure and
That's
adds
right.
a lot of metadata to make that content searchable and I guess searchable. This business is very similar to that, except built around advertising. So whereas there's a Gracenote ID that is unique for each piece of content, there's an XR ID, which is unique for each piece of content that we have at Extreme Reach, XR Extreme Reach. We add a lot of metadata around that helps our customers find their ads, keep track of their ads, manage the rights of their ads. So slightly different, but kind of somehow, if you squint, you can see a lot of commonality between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So one of the aspects that, and again, Gracenote was a very, very interesting and exciting experience. The exact aspect that you talked about was the search and discoverability, but the consumer side of it also comes into play with personalization.
Yeah.
Right, and recommendations. Yes. Is there an angle in your business where the actual sort of targeting of sort of what consumers are looking for is also through some of the metadata and ID structures that you capture?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and this actually also has some common linkage to Gracenote. But for us, it's really a focus on contextual advertising. So that is, putting the right ad with the right content at the right time for the right audience. And for us, it's we have supplying the ecosystem with enough data attached to our XR ID that we can map to maybe some content metadata and hopefully maybe scene level content metadata to get the right match at the right time so that it's a joyous sequence at a wedding, and so this is the time to have an ad that promotes something that you would want when somebody's in that frame of mind that might not be as serious.
Right.
And so those are the kinds of things that we're starting to power at XR.
This is fascinating, and also because there is just so much buzz right now within the entertainment sector for ad-supported solutions, both fast channels and AVOD.
Yep.
I mean, the amount of stuff that we are hearing about, I mean, especially Netflix making their big moves into the advertising delivery part. And then you've got Prime Video, which is actually sort of, launching more and more countries for ad inventory.
That's right.
Surely you're looking at some of these trends and getting more and more excited.
Absolutely. And, that's why we made some of the recent hires, which we have. I think, you and I were discussing before we jumped on here that we brought on board Sherman Lee, who also joins us from Gracenote, and before that, Ensers, where they developed the technology and the TV sets to register everything that hits the screen of the television.
The dynamic ad insertions solutions. Yeah.
Dynamic ad insertion solutions, exactly
and
right.
that has become such a critical aspect of the whole AVOD and fast channel playbook right now. Yeah.
That's right. So now instead of buying, either a show or, the demos of a particular show or even the demos of a person or a household, you can buy actually composition plus the moment in time. So it's always what, we always talk about the right content at the right time or the right ad at the right time. It's actually providing the infrastructure to make that happen.
Right. Fascinating. Again, this is there are so many dots that are connecting through this conversation, especially with that side of the industry, which is the advertising piece.
Yep.
One element, John, which I had curiosity about was relating to technological innovations in this space. How has technology sort of I mean, you've got a fairly large product and tech group. You've made some changes in that recently. Talk a little bit about the tech play in this business.
Sure. So this has been there's been a lot of technology. It's really been a platform, but it's been a platform that's largely wrapped in services. So,
Right.
lots of people, lots of operations with a platform underneath. And while, and self-service is like the holy grail, of course, but, while I don't think that because, we service our big clients, I don't think self-service is necessarily the only way. I think there are some services we have to have a platform that scales globally across markets, scales for an increasing amount of content and variety and variations on the content based on not only what's happening today, but what's going to happen tomorrow with AI. So we've really been spending quite a bit of time, not only kind of modernizing our platform, adding new functionality to it, and preparing ourselves, we think, for AI, which we think is generally a positive trend for our business. In it, as much as I mentioned before, we think that there's more content and that's more complexity, and we get hired to manage complexity.
Got it. And again, I mean, just like in the entertainment side of the equation, you've got the production piece, which is highly human driven.
Yep.
There's a lot of collaboration right up to the release, and then once the release happens, it can be programmatic.
That's right.
I'm guessing that the when you talked about the heavy set of services, those are largely on the run up to getting that thing produced.
It's the run up to getting it in the system and getting it working, and then actually making certain that when and you can imagine there's a lot of checks in place when someone says, okay, run this ad in this important ad at this important time on this important show. The Super Bowl is a great example of that. Well, you want to make sure it's the right ad, and you want to make sure it's the right version of the ad. It's the final version. It's the pristine version. And so that's just an easy example, but that sort of thing happens all day, every day, because whether it's the Super Bowl or it's just a standard, Wednesday evening, brands really rightfully want to make sure that they're represented in these mass media in the best possible way. And that's what we do. And so, yeah, there's a lot of automated checking that we've built in, but there's also usually a human in the loop there.
Got it. Understood. And then one aspect was relating to the expansion of your business.
Yeah.
I know you have big plans for the entertainment piece as well. Talk a little bit about where the business is today and where do you think it could go from the entry into entertainment in new ways, perhaps?
Yeah. So we've been in entertainment and entertainment payments for a while. We're not, the big fish in that pond tend to be entertainment partners and cast and crew, and they've been sort of the duopoly in that market for
That's right.
as long as I can remember. Let's put it that way.
Yes, that's right.
But it's a pretty long time at this point. And I think, as we look at the evolution of the business, we look at like, what are the new things that we can bring to entertainment businesses to help them that enable us to continue to grow in this marketplace. And so, we of course do all the standard things. We handle union wages. We work with people to, production companies to interpret the union contracts. We'll help do all those sorts of things. But, we are, investing in UI. We're making the workflows we're optimizing the workflows, maybe a better way to say it, because, we recognize that in this environment, we need to get people kind of on payroll and onboard it quickly and efficiently. And, as the landscape is changing to some extent, you have new entrants that are coming on to create content who, if you've been in the industry for years and years and years, you know exactly how to use all these systems because you've been doing it for
Yeah,
years. There is no learning curve, but there's a lot of new content being made by a lot of new players all over the place. So helping them come up the learning curve with more intuitive UIs and more intuitive experiences is something that we've been investing in.
understood. Understood. And then um, one aspect that was very impressive when we last spoke, and that'd be great for our audience to also understand, is the clientele that the company has. So if you can talk
Yeah.
a little bit about Extreme Reach's clientele.
Yeah, of course. So just, a couple of stats. We're in about 140 markets today. We have about 10,000 total customers, $100 billion a year of ad spending. You kind of count all the ads, the spending against those ads that flow through our system. That's about 100 billion a year of ad spending. We process about $1.5 billion of payroll every year in our payments business.
Wow.
We handle 45 languages, and we've sort of got, when we talk about the delivery of our ads, we have about 50,000 endpoints that we deliver to our ads to all over the world.
Wow.
So it's a pretty scaled business.
That is massive. And then I'm guessing that all the key advertising marketing companies have a touch point with you, with Extreme Reach in one way or the other.
Yeah, I would say off the top of my head, 75 or 80% of the, Fortune 500 advertisers are clients of ours.
Wow. That is, again, it's a very, very solid sort of business from that perspective. And then from an entertainment perspective, you talked about the play being a little bit on the trailers and promo side.
Yeah.
Is that likely to sort of expand?
Yeah. So our business today, our main business on the ad side is really handling the trailers and the promos. So handling them with care, ensuring that, again, that they're of the highest quality, that they're transcoded properly, that they're localized. So we do localization for trailers and ads. I know others do as well, but we handle quite a bit of localization, all the closed captioning. We do a lot of that work. And some of that work, some of those workflows, again, are being automated as you would expect with AI, but there's still a human element in that to ensure that, when you localize the right voice, it comes out. And you also need to, as you think about closed captioning, kind of just make sure everything's lined up. So we handle a lot of that, and we get trusted because the quality is high and consistently high. I think that's a really important element in this ecosystem where technology makes a lot of this easier. You don't have as much of a editor having to spend as much time making sure that the phonemes are just perfect coming right. And so AI can help with that. But a big studio for their trailers or even their ads want to make sure it's perfect. And so knowing that they can rely on XR or a company like us to ensure quality is right, I think is where we are our strongest. And I say that because I do think sort of globally there is a there is a continued need for quality players because every movie and every brand cares about how they are represented in the world. At least the big ones that we deal with. I'm sure I think everybody cares. And so I think it's important to keep in mind.
Got it. Yep. No, I think that absolutely makes sense. I was also curious, John, about about your exposure to YouTube, for instance, or let's say TikTok,
Yeah.
or maybe even Netflix and Prime Video. Again, we talked a little bit about the fact that these are now global platforms. They have massive amount of exposure to digital ads. And are they shaping in a way some of the industry practices? How imposing can some of these big global brands be for your business?
Yeah, I think that for us, what's exciting for us, challenging but exciting, is that each one of the platforms, whether it's a television platform or it's a big distribution platform like Netflix or Amazon Video, or it's an LG or a Samsung, their platforms have different sets of capabilities for targeting and interactivity. And they also have different sets of triggers to trigger that functionality. And like our play is to try to work with them as closely as possible and integrate with them so that the ad experience is the best possible ad experience on each of those platforms independently and collectively.
Understood. And then I'm guessing that there is some sort of a commercial player who's then managing the actual inventory mix or
Yeah,
the inventory.
that could be a third party, or it could be the actual platforms themselves. And so we get involved in different ways, depending on whether it's a direct relationship or it's a relationship through a ad serving.
Got it. And then, one aspect, John, I was curious about was just in terms of roadmap and outlook. Where does the business grow and go from here? Is it more international? Is it more inorganic growth? Organic growth?
Yeah, we think that the business grows for us in a few ways. International is for sure one of our growth vectors. We continue to believe that the sort of the big screen or the living room or the big screen in the house, not the big screen in the theaters, but the big screen is where a lot of the important advertising still happens, whether that happens on a fast channel or that happens on Netflix or that happens on network television. It's still collectively where the brand building largely
That's right.
happens today. And so our ability to help both the brands and the publishers connect that for the best experience in the living room, we think we're uniquely positioned to do. And that's where we've been investing. And we think that's a big growth opportunity for us. So that's where the connection of linear television, CTV television, and addressable television.
Understood. One element, again, your voice is going to 100,000 people within the entertainment sector. Most of the Vitrina network are CXOs, experts in the supply chain. What kind of people do you want an inbound interest from? Who do you want to hear from? This could be a good message to outreach to some of them and to hear back what the universe sends back. But I was curious about what kind of partnerships are you?
Yeah, listen, we're always interested to hear from creative agencies that are looking to move their content onto get their ad content into the right networks in the right way and have us handle. We're in local markets all over the world, and we're here in the US. So that's a big piece for us. Also for production companies, our payments business, not only for talent, but for crew payments.
That's a big one, actually. That should be a big opportunity, right? Are you looking at that as a growth opportunity for your?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how about things like talent? So that's part and parcel of the talent crew.
Talent, crew, vendor payments, that whole
Okay,
area is an area where we've been investing in and will continue to invest in and are really excited about. And we've been making, some good progress there.
fascinating. All right. And there are a few other companies in the network, John, which I'm sure would be dying to speak with you. Couple of those, I wanted to get your reaction on camera about what you think of these. So again, localization companies. There are lots of very exciting localization companies. I'm sure some of them would be angling for some plain advertising. And then another exciting aspect was there are companies that are using AI to generate metadata for what's on screen. A lot of very, very exciting, both emotive as well as descriptive metadata. And I don't know if some of these solutions you already have those or you actively always scouting for those.
Yeah. So I think within the ad space, we're definitely been talking to folks and interested to continue to talk to folks about that.
Okay. John, if you can talk a little bit about, my last segment is usually about outlook and about roadmap. What does 2026 bring in? Whatever details you can share about the growth in the business, the new markets, I think that'd be super useful.
Well, we're extremely hopeful for 2026.
Yes. Of course.
I don't know what more to say. We expect 26 to be a better ad environment year. It's been a volatile 25, but we're hopeful that 26 will be a little bit more stable, inflation be a little bit under control. At Most of our big brand clients will be focused on growth, and through growth, advertising, and through advertising, our businesses grow. But we also continue to look for ways to save our big customers money, which has really been a big focus of our business this year. So we think hopefully a better ad environment. Complexity continues to grow. Varieties and versioning on the ads isn't going away. It's just going to increase. And so, I think those are the big mega trends. CTV, I've been a believer in it since you and I were at Gracenote. I continue to be a big believer in connect televisions, both here and globally. I think that sort of the living room continues to be, if I can use that as just a catch-all for big screen televisions in the household, I think that will continue to be the ground in which, a lot of these sort of, brands build awareness. And so we look forward to continuing to invest there.
Got it. And look, I mean, the first part that you talked about, I think that's everything that we're seeing within the supply chain points to a very good growth for the advertising piece, at least on the streaming part. Yes, absolutely. And that's I mean, even the last 3 quarterly results from Netflix on the advertising side have been so exciting. The same thing for Amazon Prime. Again, we tracked some of these companies very closely, and now more and more new players have sort of joined in the whole ad bandwagon. So I mean, John, I really appreciate you sort of having this this conversation. I think this was really exciting to understand Extreme Reach's business on the advertising side, as well as the forays that you're making inside entertainment.
Oh, thanks, Atul. I really enjoyed it. It's great to see you, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right.